I adopted my brother's dog out from under him, so my brother Kevin has always been the type of person who makes everything sound temporary. When he called me back in March asking if I could watch his dog for just 1 week while he moved into a new apartment, I didn't even hesitate. He had this 3-year-old golden retriever named Biscuit, sweetest dog you've ever met, and Kevin swore up and down that his new place would be ready by the following Friday. I love dogs and I'd been thinking about getting one anyway, so I figured a week with Biscuit would be like a little trial run. Kevin dropped him off with a half-empty bag of kibble and a leash that was falling apart, gave Biscuit a quick pat on the head, and drove off without even saying goodbye to him properly. I remember looking down at Biscuit sitting there in my doorway watching Kevin's car disappear, and something about the way his tail stopped wagging told me he was used to being left behind. That first Friday came and went with a text from Kevin saying the apartment had some issues and he needed another week. I told him no problem because honestly Biscuit and I were having a great time together, and every morning he'd curl up next to me on the couch while I had my coffee like he'd lived there his whole life. But then another week passed, and another, and suddenly I was buying 50-pound bags of dog food on my own dime because Kevin kept forgetting to Venmo me. At the 6-week mark, Biscuit got an ear infection and I had to take him to the vet, which cost me $300 that Kevin promised to pay back but never did. The thing that really started to burn me up was Kevin's social media, because every single weekend he was posting photos of himself at rooftop bars and beach trips with his friends while I was at home cleaning out Biscuit's infected ears with medicated drops. I texted him about it and he said I was being dramatic and that Biscuit was literally just a dog and I needed to relax. 4 months into this nightmare, Kevin called me to chat and I thought he was finally going to tell me he was coming to get Biscuit. Instead, he told me he was moving across the country for some startup job and asked if I could ship Biscuit to him once he got settled. And then he actually asked if I could cover the shipping costs because he was a little tight right now. I told him absolutely not and that he needed to come get his dog by Sunday or I was done with this whole situation. Kevin exploded, calling me selfish and ungrateful, and then he said something I will never forget. He said, "You should be thanking me for letting you borrow him this long because your life was boring and sad before Biscuit showed up." I hung up on him and blocked his number for the rest of the night. Sunday came and went with no Kevin, and that Monday morning I woke up with Biscuit's head on my chest and made a decision. I drove to the county shelter that afternoon and told them I'd found a stray golden retriever wandering my neighborhood with no collar and no tags. They scanned him for a microchip, found nothing, and explained that unclaimed strays could be adopted after a 7-day holding period. I visited Biscuit every single day that week, bringing him treats and sitting with him in the visitation room so he'd know I hadn't abandoned him like everyone else in his life. On day 8, I walked back into that shelter, filled out the adoption paperwork, paid the fee, and clipped his new tag with my address onto his collar. About 3 weeks later, Kevin texted me from a new number asking when he could swing by to grab the dog because his apartment was finally ready, and I told him there was no dog to grab because Biscuit was legally mine now. My phone rang within seconds, and I could hear Kevin breathing hard before he even started screaming. "What the hell do you mean he's legally yours? That's my dog. You can't just steal someone's dog." I told him I didn't steal anything, and that I adopted a stray from the county shelter. "A stray? Are you insane? You knew exactly whose dog that was, you psycho." I let him keep going for a while because honestly, it was a little satisfying to hear him panic. When he finally stopped to catch his breath, I asked him a simple question. "Kevin, did you ever microchip Biscuit?" He didn't answer. "Do you have a single vet record with your name on it?" He was quiet for a long time, and then he said, "I'm going to sue you for everything you have, I swear to God." I laughed and told him to go ahead and try, because I had 4 months of receipts proving I was the only person who ever took care of that dog, and we both knew he wasn't going to do a damn thing. Kevin screamed that I was a psychotic dog thief, and that our entire family would never forgive me for this, and then he hung up. Kevin has told everyone in our family that I'm a monster, and most of them have taken his side because Kevin has always been the baby who gets protected no matter what he does. I genuinely could not care less what any of them think. Biscuit sleeps at the foot of my bed every night.